All right. So I'm glad everybody's here. I'm really glad you're here, Brendan. So what was the thing with I don't want you not asking for anything negative or dirt, but like what was the thing, the final thing that made you want to go off and do your own thing, like just because you wanted to have more control about your topics and things?
Yeah, well, you had ideas. You know what it's like. You sat there and you turn up from work, you do the panel, and especially because I was retiring, I thought, I want to get into this, and I'm
Mm.
I'm actually quite amazed that we've come this far. When you have to design all your own stuff, set it all up. I hadn't been on Twitter, I hadn't been on this, setting up where you are on YouTube. I mean, it's an eye opener, isn't it? I haven't a clue.
I knew
Um,
nothing. Yeah. Well,
That's the
as
man,
you
like
fun
know,
though, isn't it? Just kind of fumbling your way around trying to work out.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
and then you're wondering, why am I doing this? Because nobody knows I'm even on. So what's the
They
point?
will. They will, mate.
yeah, well,
They
you're
will.
jumping up though, man. Like you just hit 150. You're about at 160, and you're getting a certain amount of activity. So I feel like it's about to pop open. You're going to
Oh
get a
yeah.
lot
I
of
just
people.
dropped to a sub.
Say
Oh,
what?
thank you.
I
Oh,
just dropped.
cool. All right. See, now you're at 160. Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
So
Well, lovely. It's a fantastic feeling. You know what it's like. It's weird, isn't it?
yeah, it's cool. I'm very tickled with doing YouTube. I like it a lot. I myself I was home for a couple months on a forced vacation because my job was sent overseas, and so I had time on my hands, and I had been wanting to do YouTube for like years, or even just a podcast. I don't care. And I got to be friends with Tuna on there, and we started talking, and it was just like, man, I'm not really ready to do a lot of solo vids, but I want to do live streams and talk about things, and that's kind of where we ended up.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because like, and they say this a lot on your show, Brendan, is like it's really cool because you meet a lot of friendly people, you know what I mean, and like a lot of people to talk to about stuff. So I really dig that. Other than
Well,
the
we
fact
can't.
they go
Well,
ahead.
we kind of said. We said I'm not one of those Doctor Who fans who went to all the conventions and stuff. I kept out of that. So, but we started to say, it'd be great if you imagine lots of Doctor Who fans in a pub, and you get the banter, and you can actually challenge each other and have proper debates, and then take the mick and all the rest of it. That's what we were saying is the vibe we wanted. But you sometimes do see some channels where it is an echo chamber, and I've tried my best to get people on who don't agree with us. It's hard, isn't it? It's very hard to get somebody who will.
Yeah, we don't
I
go
don't
out of
know.
our way to get somebody who would like vehemently disagree, but like just having. Thankfully, one good thing about is that me and Tuna and Joe, who's not here, we all like some of the same things, but we like different things about it. So we sometimes will disagree on what we like or don't like. But it is sometimes hard to get anybody to discuss with you anymore, Brendan, because nobody knows how to discuss anything like an adult anymore. If you're saying something they,
No,
you know.
I. We'd only done the second show, so you've got about 10 people watching, and that sort of thing. And then
Mhm.
I suddenly discovered on the YouTube thread people writing essays to you, and I got from an Australian this threatening essay about how vile I was. So on
Oh,
Christmas Day, I'm with my parents and partner, and what we're doing is I'm writing an essay at the Christmas table, trying to say, "Excuse me," and I'm trying to
how
explain
dare
the
you?
channel. Yeah, and I'm thinking, why am I getting sucked into this?
That's
Oh, hell,
YouTube.
hello
Yeah,
to the
It
chat. Hey,
is. I
everybody.
get a lot of it,
yeah.
especially on my channel.
Yeah, Rachel's the queen of the woke.
I am.
She's
Yes, and
very
I
good
think
at ticking people off.
I've added you now, Rich, and I've seen. So I can see you. You're being brave, you aren't you? You're really brave.
Yeah, they
Can't be
Thank you.
said.
yeah, Rachel, you need to watch her channel too. She's got a lot of good takes on stuff, real smart, sane
Oh,
takes on things,
thank you.
and she meshes with us really well. We've had a lot of this is probably what the third time she's been with us. And
Yeah.
so when I knew that I was going to try to throw in some extra Doctor Who this week and Joe wasn't going to be here, I was like, I need somebody else, Rachel, and she likes Doctor Who too. So it worked out perfectly. But hello to the chat, everybody. We appreciate you
Hey,
coming
everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us.
very much.
Hello.
All of our cultural cult here. So, first story today, guys. Let's see what Brandon has on the agenda here. We're going to
Oh,
get
I'm
some
excited.
crazy, and any negativity there is, we're getting it out of the way now so we can have fun talking about Doctor Who. Let's see. Oh, yes. Here's a good one. This is going to make Brendan glad he's not a teacher anymore. I suppose we could ask him if this ever happened in any of his classes. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, guys, this is such a gross story. Like it not well. You'll see for yourself.
I know what this is.
You have to really ask where the adults in the room were. The shocking toe-sucking competition was part of a week-long fundraiser for a local coffee shop.
Look at it, Rachel. Damn it! Don't you dare hide away.
Yeah,
The
you
video
look, Rachel.
from
You
Deer
look.
Creek High School in Edmond, Oklahoma, shows students licking other students.
I was hoping Brendan wasn't gonna be like, yeah, we did that all the time.
The disturbing video sparking outrage online and among parents in the district.
I can't remember where
The
this
Deer
is. They'll
Creek
say,
School District writes in a statement,
Damn.
"We want to stress to our community that
we want to stress to our community that much. Go ahead, Rachel. This is nasty, ain't it?
Yeah, it's nasty. Ofsted would have a field day with something like this.
much of the information accompanying this video is inaccurate. However, through this specific game, we
Yeah, how
failed
do you
to
defend
uphold the
it?
dignity of our students and the proud image of our community. The Oklahoma State Superintendent was also not happy with the toe curling video posted on X. This is disgusting. We are cleaning up this filth in Oklahoma schools.
Oklahoma.
Our agency is investigating.
This is out in the southwest of America.
The Oklahoma school says despite the scandal, it ended up raising $152,000 for the Not Your Average Joe coffee shop that raises awareness for students and adults with intellectual and physical disabilities. And sadly, after this video went viral, that coffee shop reports it received threatening calls with hateful messages, calling the coffee shop pedophiles and telling people they're going down, Trace.
Wow.
Matt, thank you. As you mentioned, let's bring in the official who launched that investigation,
So
Oklahoma
gross.
State Superintendent Ryan Walters, along with the co-author of Stolen Youth, Montgomery County, Maryland School Board candidate Bethany Mandel. Thank you both for coming on. Mr. Superintendent, to you first. The school district says this only involves students, but the people that we talked to in and around this story say that there were adults involved in this. What do you think about, one, the story, and two, the fact that some are saying it was only students and others are saying there were adults involved in this?
So the story, I mean, it's disgusting. It's outrageous. This is a breach of trust for parents with a school district. So first of all, this should never happen. In Oklahoma, this isn't our values. We're not going to stand for it. So we immediately have launched an investigation. And to your point, yeah, you know, that's what the district's saying. Well, the district allowed this to happen. So we will be investigating it. We will be finding out where adults involved, were administrative staff involved.
And that's all we need on that. I just want you guys to know I am totally grossed out by this.
Well, if
Right,
it's
have you
advertised,
seen the other story?
What was the other story that they've been
There's
doing
another
things
video
like this
that
for
matches or
years?
kind of mirrors this, but with students licking staff or faculty members' armpits.
Yes,
What?
I saw that. That is so gross, man.
I was going to say, if they're making kids do with that and it's advertised in a coffee shop, they're going to have coffee breath, breath as bad as coffee breath. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, smell my big toe. It smells like a cappuccino.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess that'll be overwritten by the foot breath, won't it?
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
awful. Yeah, I can't believe that they got away with that. I mean, obviously they didn't, but they've been doing things like that for a while, according to some sources. But it is very, very, very gross. So that was the first thing we were looking at today. Just thought I'd gross you guys out and remind you of the wonderful positions we find ourselves in life. Next one's just a funny little 30-second clip. It says the difference between British and American drivers.
Bonk.
You all right, love?
Jennifer, there's no damage or anything, but if you want to check it, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. That's okay. Sorry, hope you have a nice day. Fucking your bro.
Yeah, so I think there might be a slightly difference in road rage, but I'd imagine you guys have plenty of road rage over there.
Yeah,
Oh,
you haven't
yeah.
seen my mum behind the wheel.
I've really gotten to where, one of my kids just turned 16 and the other one is turning 16 in a week. And I don't know. I don't think they're ready and I need to have them driving more. But the kids nowadays, I swear, guys, I don't think they really care if they get it until they're 18 years old. I mean, it's just like they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they can talk to girls online. I guess it doesn't really matter. What age group did you teach, Brendan?
No, it was secondary. It was 11 to 18. So
Okay, so high schoolers to us,
high
yeah.
school. and some of them were driving or learning to drive in the staff car park, so all our cars were at risk.
Oh, wow.
But on the car driving, I mean, I used to live in Australia. You want to see Aussie drivers? My God, I had a long commute to the Sunshine Coast, and I one day I was chased for about 80k by an Aussie in a ute. He just was offended that my tiny little car was competing with him. So basically, he started freaking out and waving and handing himself out of the ute cabin. He was half out of it, and you know, his fist in my face as I'm driving along in this tiny little car. But yeah, for 80k, he was trying to ram us.
What did you, if you don't mind me asking, if it's something personal, don't worry about it. But were you working in Australia or visiting or what?
I emigrated. I've got dual citizenship now. So I lived in Brisbane and commuted to the Sunshine Coast for ages. It was a long journey, 2 hours a day. But yes, one day this ute decided to try and just take me off the road.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm jealous though. I've never been to Australia. I would very much like to see it. The furthest like non-country, the furthest away I've been would be like Canada, or went to Puerto Rico, but it's still owned by the United States, but it used to be a different country. Okay, here's another one, guys. I would like some opinions on something. You know, I remember my mother when I was young talking about like them desegregating the schools and kind of making things right the way they should be. But sometimes it feels like we're going backwards. So let me show you this playwright guy here and see what he says.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one is saying that by inviting Black audiences here, you were uninvited.
On Broadway, there were nights where tickets were only sold to people who identified as Black. Are you going to do that in the West End?
I'm so excited to, yeah.
You are?
Yeah. I mean, I think that one of the things that we have to remember is that people have to be radically invited into a space to know that they belong there. And in most of our country, in most places in the West, poor people and Black people have been told that they do not belong inside of the theater. In America, Jim Crow existed to literally tell them that they could not sit in the same theater as white people.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Me, as someone who wants and yearns for Black and brown people to be in the theater, who comes from a working class environment, and so wants like people who do not make, you know, over 6 figures a year to feel like theater is a place for them, it is a necessity to radically invite them in with initiatives that say you're invited, specifically you.
Right. And if the price of that is saying to people who are, just because they're white, you can't come, you're not allowed in this space, does that make you uncomfortable?
Well, no one's saying, listen, it
makes it illegal.
It sounds like it would be illegal over here for sure.
Yeah.
In our country, in all of our countries that are generally inhabited by only white people, and no one has questions about that. And no one is saying that by inviting Black audiences here, you were uninvited. The idea of a blackout night is to say, this is a night that we are specifically inviting Black people to fill up the space, to feel safe with a lot of other Black people in a place where they often do not feel safe.
Okay, and does it play differently? Does the theater feel different?
100%. It feels.
In what way? Explain.
I think that you know, we all, let's not act as though we do not know that culturally Black audiences and white audiences respond to things differently.
So the reason I showed that was because, you know, I grew up in an area, it was before my time by about 20 years, but I grew up in an area that was in the South. So we had heavy segregation, Jim Crow and all that stuff. And it scares me to think we're going back there. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we talked about it in school, like that was a great thing that we left all that behind. And I just saw that and I was like, man, it just makes me sad, dude. It makes me so sad.
It's not right either. It's like teaching people how to segregate. You know, that's going to be impressionable on younger audiences. You know, it's okay to actually do something like that. It's not actually okay. And at £125 a ticket, I don't think I really would want to actually see slave play, because that's what it's called. That's what they're talking about, isn't it?
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know if it was one particular play or if it was like broad strokes. He's just talking about a playhouse.
Yeah, no. But the other thing is, school trips if we had, you know, different color skin in our country, in our school, they all go on the school trip. So this thing about radically inviting people to a theatre, they'll have been invited on a school trip.
Yeah.
They've already been invited. No school in our country is going to actually say only certain kids can go. So the whole point is, if you have black kids in the school, they will have been to the theatre. So that director, who I noticed an American accent, I'm not sure how long he's lived in Britain, because he seems to be importing views from America which aren't related to Britain.
Yeah,
I think he's getting it all misconstrued, and I can tell him, when you do a school trip, the class goes. It doesn't matter who's in it.
The other thing about this is going into a public theatre. So it's a public space, and everybody has access to a public space. That's the whole point of a public space. It's not like it's a private theatre that's privately funded. If it was a private theatre that's privately funded and they're sending out invites, that might be a different story. But this is a public space. You can't do that in a public space.
Plus, I still think it's more of a class thing. I mean, when was a working class kid? I'm from Middlesbrough. When was a working class kid in Middlesbrough radically invited to the theatre? I mean,
don't you want to come see this play? That's what I think of when they say radically invite. Hey man, I've got a play you got to see.
And if they're talking specifically about London, that's quite far away. You know, I mean, I'm a country bumpkin. There was no way they would be inviting me to the theatre when I was growing up, over like 100 miles away.
Yeah, I mean, obviously where I am, the theater is nothing. It means nothing where I am. I'm sure there's a couple of playhouses like in the bigger cities, but I mean, it's not like it wouldn't be something common for somebody that I grew up around to aspire to be or something. You know what I mean? It just wasn't.
But it's getting dangerous, because not just the theatre. I mean, obviously, Rachel, if you're saying you're a country bumpkin, you live in that dangerous place where it's unsafe for certain people to go, apparently, the countryside.
Yeah, we had a guy on last week from Birmingham. Oh, shout out to Gobster too, man. Yeah, he was on here last week, and he lives in the Birmingham area, and I think people like that are really, really, really suffering through it right now. I worry about you guys over there. My country's not too far behind.
Railroading us into oblivion, aren't they?
It's terrible, man.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's something cool, guys. This was actually positive. It actually turned out positive. Let's see. This one upset me too, because I love history. I'm a big history buff. Love anything. I think that's sometimes why I get into like lore of things like Doctor Who and stuff, because I just love lore and history to things. And the Doctor has access to all time.
And Brendan's gone, which sometimes happens every now and then. Me and Joe will say the same thing.
I've done that.
He'll be back. I'm sure he'll work out what he's done. So what do you guys feel about this kind of racism in the countryside? Let's kind of jump onto that as a kind of spot topic. So, is it just simply a case of, the minute someone of colour goes into the countryside, they get lanced by pitchfork, or does Farmer John come out and go, "Get off my land, my lover"?
Not really. Not as far as I know. I've never seen it happen anyway.
I ran away.
Wrong button, did we?
It happens sometimes. The stupid tabs, man. Yeah, we had to play that at least twice this week. So anyway, what I was saying was the story I wanted to show you guys, and the link I had wasn't good anymore. So here we go. There was a controversial kiss. I assume it's in 45 because that's when we had victory over Japan, and it's a very famous kiss. Most people have seen it. Everybody saw it in school.
Not for sale.
Not for sale.
It's not for sale either. My country is not for sale. Controversial kiss. There it is. This is what I want to show you guys. Controversial kiss photograph can stay in veterans facilities after rapid U-turn. Biden administration rescinds not sanctioned memo that said VJ Day image depicting non-consensual act would be withdrawn. The Department of Veteran Affairs has walked back a memo that banned the iconic VJ Day in Times Square photograph from its facilities. The VA Secretary, Dennis McDonough, announced the reversal of the memo on X, formerly Twitter, only hours after it began circulating online. In a statement posted alongside the photo, which shows a Navy sailor kissing a woman in New York's Times Square, McDonough said, let me be clear. This image is not banned from VA facilities, Veterans Affairs, and we will keep it in VA facilities. A spokesperson for the department told The Guardian that the photo remains in VA facilities. The spokesperson added that the memo was sent out inadvertently and had to be rescinded. So basically somebody screwed up and got backlash, right? What do you think, Tuna?
It's just insane, isn't it? And I've seen people commenting on social media, which I assume we all have as well.
You've seen this image before, right? And I assume everybody here has seen this image.
Legendary, isn't it? You know, it's you think about that kind of time period, and it's right up there, isn't it? It's just ridiculous.
Now, I didn't know until I was older, actually, maybe in the last few years recently, I didn't know that this was somebody he didn't know. I didn't know that he like grabbed her up or, you know what I'm saying? So I get it, I understand, but everybody wants to look at the past through the lens of today, and I just can't stand that.
Well, one of the main problems is somebody is obviously linking that photograph and, like you say, present day kind of thoughts with, you remember that Spanish, the women's team when they won the World Cup, and the Spanish FIFA, was he the Spanish FA bloke? He kissed one of the Spanish players, and they said that was without consent. Now, that was obviously last year.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, but they're imposing those sorts of thoughts with this photograph, which is jubilation because you've won the war, for God's sake.
Yeah, maybe you don't have to go over there and die now. I mean, it's just like it's really weird to like use the lens of modern day, and basically you slap this lens on top of everything you're looking at, and then you just go back through history and eliminate, change, erase as you go.
Which is dumb. Because things like this, whether it's good, whether it's bad, you can actually take it, look at it, and learn from it.
Yeah.
That's why you shouldn't take it out.
Well, what about that Paris photograph, the famous one called The Kiss? And those two people didn't know each other. And it was just a kind of a moment when they locked lips. And some could say that was predatory. If you want to really go down this road, I mean, where do you end up? Why was the photographer in a coffee shop in Paris waiting to photograph two strangers kissing? That's pervy. I mean, honestly, where do you go with this nonsense?
Oh, man. Okay.
It's just about sanitizing everything, isn't it? Sanitize everything. Remove context.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
That's the one you're talking about, isn't it, Brendan? Yeah, yeah. That one I've seen, but I'm not nearly as familiar with it. But the other one gets used so much over here, and it was in our school textbooks in history class, man.
Well, I use that photograph is the one I use in my classrooms sometimes.
What were you a history teacher specifically?
English teacher. So basically, this would be to get them all thinking romantically or spy, or do a genre where it's a thriller or something like that.
Do you miss it?
I do miss the creativity. I mean, it's fantastic when the kids really get fired up. I mean, none of them want to, because what I say to them is that if you look at that photograph, I suppose you think romance first. And I said to them, trick them, change the genre, make it what the reader doesn't expect. So they all focused on the bloke behind as if he was stalking them or something, spying, or she was kissing him to target the victim or something like that.
It's wild, man. It is wild. Now, you said this year was the first year you'd been retired from teaching?
Yes, this is my first
So it must
year.
I bet it felt weird, like the first day when you were supposed to be back in school, like you were skipping school or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, God, you're free. You see bells all day. Can you imagine it? Just bells all day, you know?
Oh, man.
Expecting you and people telling you.
I've still got like 25. Let's see, if I'm 42, I don't know. We probably won't. We have something called Social Security that you pay into. I'm sure you have something similar, like a pension or whatever. And it's basically a fund you pay into that pays you out for the rest of your life once you retire, and gives you a meager sum, you know, where you're counting your change. Yeah. It doesn't. That's good.
It's missing all the scrutinization. I'm not into that because I was ahead of year as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, you might have told somebody off or dealt with something, and then a parent phones up who was not in the room and says, "My eyebrows offended the kid." What's wrong with my eyebrows? What do you mean, my eyebrows? Your frown offended and triggered them. I thought, you know, what?
Wow,
go with that?
That's pretty good. That's one I couldn't make up on my own. All right, guys. Let's see. I think I had. Let me show you one other thing here. All right. So now let's get on a slightly more Gallifreyan subject, shall we? Now, here's my thought process on something I did this weekend. Right, this was actually I did this after your show, Brendan. I was thinking like okay, traditionally, if you ask people, what's your favorite doctor, they're going to say Tom Baker or they're going to say David Tennant, right? So now this is a question for everybody. Bear in mind the 3 specials we've seen. Or was it 4? 3? I can't remember anymore. But anyway, so 3 and then 1, right? Shit. Wait, the Giggle was the last one, so it's 3. Okay, the Giggle, Wild Blue Yonder, and the Star Beast. And I'm so mad Brendan's doing an episode on the Star Beast, but I got to work that day. I'll definitely be watching it though, and I'm working on a Star Beast video myself. But anyway, I got to thinking, like, is David Tennant, if he was your favorite before, as say, even if it was just Nuhu, look, everybody has their own favorite doctor, but Tennant has to be one of the most universally beloved. During his 4-year run, Tennant helped make the show the global success it is today. So my question to you, starting with Rachel, is if you look back on those specials, do you think that tarnishes David Tennant, or do you just segment the 10th and 14th Doctors separately in your mind?
I segment them separately. Because I felt like when he came back as the 15th Doctor, he was sort of like just going through the motions. He didn't really need to be there. It's an acting term, going through the motions. You're just walking through it. You're not giving it as much gusto as perhaps what you would have done normally. And of course, it is supposed to be a slightly different Doctor, I guess, compared to Tennant. But I just keep them separate. Because I don't think it's fair to judge something that he did, well, like however many years ago it was now. How long ago was it? I can't remember.
Oh God, 18 years ago now, I guess, when he started, or 19.
Ago. Yeah, you see, and he's gotten older. He's changed a lot since then. His acting style's changed a bit. So I tend to just I keep them separate. That's what I.
What about you, Brenda?
Well, it's interesting. I can't segment them like Rachel in a way, because unfortunately I think he's been overused, David Tennant, in the Doctor role.
I agree with that.
He's our go-to Doctor, and yes, he was great and everything, but he's Dave the Doctor, he comes back, he's the main event with Matt Smith, just overused, and therefore the law of diminishing returns starts to play in. I also thought that the Giggle served David Tennant so badly because, of course, he's competing with Shooty's shorts. He's competing with a brand new Doctor who's full of vitality, and he's supposed to seem tired, and he's into Gardener's World and what he wants to do weeding at Donna's house. It's not really. It's just tame to think of a Doctor.
Well, that's all right then.
Exactly. How to finish it, and to make. I mean, I was thinking this morning. I was thinking, what will kids think when they see their hero suddenly just want to have a salad with Donna and help her with the weeding and the mowing, and what's all that about? And it doesn't make sense that the Shooty Doctor, I wish number are we up to 15th Doctor, will be all fired up and he's been through therapy, whereas the 14th Doctor still has to undergo therapy. And then in the church on Ruby Road, you see a crying doctor. So you're thinking, well, the therapy didn't work too well. He's still troubled.
The odd thing was, like, I enjoyed, I know this is going to sound blasphemic, but the church there were 3 specials, and then the 4th episode was the Christmas special, Church on Ruby Road. I actually, for some weird reason, I enjoyed limitedly, but I enjoyed it more than I did the other specials, which is completely bass-ackwards from what I thought. But I think maybe it was just because there was some less baggage there, and it's Christmas, and I'm in a good mood. But definitely going to be watching and commenting on it when it comes back. What about you, Tuna? Do you think it kind of tarnishes the, basically, does it tarnish the conversation for talking about him being the best?
Yeah.
So now you finally, oh God, Joe, shout out to Joe out there somewhere. If you hear this, Joe, maybe he loves Matt Smith now.
Yeah, well, Joey's Matt Smith forever, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, you can try and be romantic about it, remember the good old days, but I generally kind of feel about it, I always remember the last thing that person's done, and like in Hollywood, you always remember for the last thing that you've done. And, yeah.
What, Brendan, I know another thing that's cool I thought would be about you coming on here is like you're always, you know how it is, you got to be the ringmaster of like your own channel and stuff. And so they don't get as much time to talk to you about the things, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting here like it was Sunday. I was going to, oh man, I'm going to ask Brendan about that. Oh, wait, I'm not going to do it today. I'll just ask him Thursday. He's going to come on. What's your first earliest Doctor Who memory?
It's Pertwee. It's the Sea Devils. It's
Nice.
because I remember I was so scared. And we had a big terraced house. All I remember about the house is it had a dark hallway. So basically, if the lounge is showing the Sea Devils and I need to go to the loo when I'm about 3, it's problematic.
Problematic, triggering.
So it was all about the toilet issue, which is I cannot go to the loo because the Sea Devils might be in that dark corridor. Because I was thinking of the fortress, which was in the Solent. That freaked me out. Episode 1 and part of 2, when they're on that fortress. Wow. And then, you know, our nearest seaside. My mum and dad tell me I stared at the water all the time. I was on alert watching. So. Yeah, that's a very vivid memory for me, and it's John Pertwee.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've I told you, and I've told the other guys before too. Is like I never growing up, I didn't really care for classic Doctor Who. Something in my mind, like I don't know if I thought it was cheap or what, I don't know, but this is what I'm on right now. So when I went back, I haven't explained this to you, Brendan, I'll tell you really quickly. So when I found out that RTD was coming back, and it was well ahead of time, I think it was like a Power of the Doctor where you first see David Tennant come back, right? Well, they said, you know, RTD's coming back. So I'm thinking, okay. I'm so fed up with new everything. I think I finally reached a point. And so I went to classic Doctor Who. I said, I'm not going to watch the first 3. I'll just start with what everybody says is the best. So I started with Baker. Watch, and I'm like, man, I freaking love this. This is awesome. I like it better than I do New Who. And so I watched from Baker all the way through and watched the 96 movie New Who and all that stuff. Well, then I realized I wanted to close the gaps in my knowledge. So then I went back and started first, second. Now I'm on the 3rd Doctor, and I'm freaking loving Pertwee. I didn't think now, Rachel, you might be more familiar with this. Tuna's not watched as much classic, but we're selling them on it today.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I will get there. Unfortunately, he's just on a time.
So, Tuna, what happens basically, there's a story called The War Games, and the 2nd Doctor, played by Patrick Troughton, he's kind of punished. So they make him regenerate. He regenerates into Pertwee, and then they exile him on Earth. And they take away his ability and knowledge to travel, right? And so for some reason, I didn't think I'd like that. And it's very unit heavy. Like this is where units established. And Nicholas Courtney that plays Lethbridge Stewart, his daughter Kate from the new show, right? That runs unit. He's a freaking awesome character. Like I love that character. What do you got? What about you, Brendan? You like the character of the Brigadier? Like he's a very endearing character to me, man.
Yeah, because it's very warm and safe. Because as a kid, John Pertwee was like your granddad. He kind of had that kind of statuesque, and he was full of authority, and it was a safe pair of hands. So when he regenerated, I was troubled by Tom Baker for about half an episode because as a little kid, you liked this kind of granddad type who was very serious. To suddenly go to somebody like Tom Baker really freaked me out as a kid. Until I realized he was really cool. But
yeah.
But the Brigadier and unit, it was like a family. You know, we always talk about New Who, and you have Donna Noble's mom and all the rest of it, and Wilf. But if you go back, unit was like the family. You had Joe Grant, you had Liz Shaw before, you had the Brigadier, Captain Yates, you had Benton. You had a team, and as every week you trusted that team. And so. Yeah, I have very good memories of this era and liking that. You know, it wasn't just the Doctor; it was a whole load of them.
Go ahead.
Sorry. One of the nice things about the Brigadier is that when he's actually introduced in Pertwee's era, you're already familiar with who he is because he's already appeared with Pat Troughton. And
right?
Did he appear with William Hart? No, he didn't he?
No, he was a different character.
Oh yeah, he was a different character.
That's it. But you were already familiar with who he was. And I like
Web
that.
of Fear, I think. Was it Web of Fear? It's a lost episode. I just got the DVD.
It's been a long time since I've watched any of the reruns.
Because he was Web of Fear, The Invasion.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a hold of those. I got a DVD. It was like super cheap on eBay, but it's like three I think of the 4 episodes are on there, Web of Fear, and then one is just Telesnap Stills with the audio track behind it. But I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But the cool thing, Tubi has like so many of the old restored, like the ones that they had to animate and stuff like that. That they've done a lot to just up them and make them look better or whatnot, or just to make them where people can watch them at all. So I really enjoyed that character. And so then I was just kind of like kicking myself, Brendan, because I was like, why wasn't I watching this the whole time? You know, but I thought I wasn't going to like him being stranded on Earth. Because I felt like in my mind it would be almost too grounded, too human. The thing I forgot though was that these people were very good at taking very little and making a lot of entertainment out of it. You know what I'm saying? And so I dig it, man. I love that show. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I really enjoy it. Like, very few things. Like, a lot of things make me happy in life, but there's very few like TV shows, even stuff I like. But Doctor Who gives me the same feeling of like picking up an old comic book that I like, except that's the feeling I got the whole time I'm watching it. And so like, I'd never really found a show that I was that passionate about that I liked that much. So now I'm kicking myself that I missed all those stories.
Oh, Brendan, did you used to record Doctor Who on like VHS or like cassette tape with a?
Oh, were you one of those people?
I started. Where did we start? I started taping the sound from Destiny of the Daleks. So that's 79. So basically, the Daleks were coming back after years. I mean, as a kid, 4 years is a long time to wait. So basically, the Daleks are back. So basically, I had the audio cassette right next to the TV. So sometimes I realized I got it wrong. So all you heard was that buzzing sound. And you thought, I stuffed the recording up. Or your dog would bark and ruin the whole thing. I used to have my poor family prisoner for 25 minutes. Nobody could talk. Nobody could go to the loo. Nobody could flush. You had to be quiet. So basically, I started audio recording then, and it was the season 20. So Mordrin Undead, Snake Dance was the first year I got to start video recording.
Awesome.
So well after the loss, I didn't, excuse me, I didn't realize that they had lost episodes. Forgive my dogs. The kids are probably getting home from school, but I didn't realize they had lost so many of Pertwee's episodes, but they found them all now. They're all on there.
Yeah, there was some black and white, weren't there? I mean, the other thing about the Unity era, Brandon, was the stunts. Havoc. They had that stunt team that did amazing,
blowing stuff up left and right.
Yeah.
They're always at this quarry. I'm so sorry about the dogs. Tuna, take over for a second. I'll be right back.
Fun fact about Nicholas Courtney. Nicholas Courtney worked with every single Doctor except for Colin Baker. And he didn't work with Colin Baker until he did The Spectre of Landon Moor with Big Finish. That was his first Doctor Who story with Colin Baker.
It was a shame because Nick Courtney was very happy to say, I've worked with every Doctor, wasn't he? He was really proud of it.
Yeah.
And then, sadly, Colin Baker only did the 2 seasons and one was in space, so to speak, wasn't it? So.
Oh man, Brendan had some cool pictures. He had one meeting. I guess was that somebody just dressed up, or was that one of the actors, that Sontaran that you met as a kid?
Yeah, that was the famous Longleat House, 1983.
See, I never heard of that Longleat thing. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, been there once.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, really? Man, I'm jealous. Yeah, see, I'd never even heard of it. I had to look it up after Brendan. It's one of those things too. Is like you got 7 talking heads, and he says something, and 6 out of the 7 are all nodding their heads. I'm just like, what in the hell are they talking about? But it looked really cool.
It was a lovely surprise. I'd pestered my parents about it, but of course, I'm the Northeast. That was Southwest, and I was about 12 or 13, and you'd have to get about 3 different train changes. And my mum and dad were saying, no, you can't go on your own or with your mate from school. So they just said, you can't go. And then that night, they were advertising it like mad, Brandon. It was advertised after Nationwide all the blooming time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in the end, my dad woke us up. I was asleep, and my dad said, we're going. And I went, what? So we drove down, and there is an end to this story. It's really good, Wait for this. We got to Longleat House, parked in the car park. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning. Fell asleep, because obviously we'd gone through the night. And when we woke up, the ticket booth and everything had been constructed behind us, so we got in for free. They thought we were staff.
Nice.
Awesome.
So we got because they were turning people away, Brandon, over that weekend. It was so oversubscribed, and the queues were, you know, they were telling people to turn around. It was live on the radio all the time. Me and my dad had just got in for free.
That's awesome, man. I've just seen people dressed up. I've not been to a ton of conventions. It's too many people, but I never, anytime I was going to conventions, I either wasn't into Doctor Who yet, or there wasn't anybody there, you know, from it. But now, like you've met most of the actors, have you not?
Yeah, I mean, I stayed in that marquee most of the day because I only had one day there before Dad was taking us back. So I saw Patrick Troughton, Peter Davison, John Pertwee. Because Tom Baker came the next day. So I saw the 3 doctors available that day. Saw them quite close up. I've got really close up photographs. I heard their panels and all the rest of it. Did Tuna say he went?
He said he went one time. I think he stepped out for 1 second. I believe he said he went once. We'll have to ask him about it. But that's the place you're talking about, isn't it?
It is.
And
it was because it was the 20th, and you know, there was our first big event, really.
83.
And they had what 30,000, 40,000 people, and they just couldn't cope with it. I mean, when you look at the marquee when Troughton was in there, and they do the little question and answer panel, there's only about 150 allowed in. So the thousands were everywhere, but that Sontaran I had the photograph with, they had all the monsters walking around. So that was my only, and in those days you didn't take many photographs because it cost a bomb. So basically I've only got one photograph of me at Longleat House. And now you take loads.
People don't realize, like, it wasn't just one click simple back in the day. You actually had to get it developed. Let's see. I found some pics. This looks like they got, and so this is the Doctor Who exhibition. Do they do this every year?
Which one's that?
The Longleat one. Do they do that every year, like an annual thing?
The exhibition was permanent, and it used to be.
Okay, gotcha.
So the convention was a proper convention. It was the first big British one, and that was because it was 20 years old, Doctor Who. But there was already a little exhibition part to Longleat House for the Doctor Who, which I never went to, funny enough. Lots of people say they went to it. I went to the Blackpool one, the Blackpool exhibition, nearer me, really. So, they had a little permanent exhibition at Longleat and a permanent exhibition in Blackpool.
This looks like what you're talking about.
Yes.
Doctor Who 20th anniversary event in '83. I was 1 and 2 years old, Brendan. This was a phenomenally successful 2-day event held over the Easter bank holiday weekend in April at Longleat House. Longleat House was chosen as the venue to stage this event largely because of the available space. 50,000 people were expected to attend. 35,000 turned up on the first day alone. Packed to capacity, even more people were turned away at the gate. That's crazy, man.
Wow.
Tuna, are you back? No, he must not be back yet. Let's see. Let me check.
Yeah, it was out.
He's doing something.
It was.
I would go ahead.
I've got one photograph. I wasted one photograph of just all the cars all the way up the hill. Absolutely.
You showed that one, didn't you? Yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't believe how many people were there. I'm jealous, man. I'd like to go. I'd like to just go over in the town where Tom Baker lives and walk around the park every day till I bump into him so I could talk to him.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, let's talk companions. Now, he's not a companion, but Brendan's favorite character is Strax. He really likes him. He likes a butler. He likes a Sontaran butler, don't you, Brendan? Okay, so here's what we got. This is Game Rant. This is from December of last year. So this is before everything had come out. And I was just kind of curious to see. Let's see if they count down backwards. Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to count down and see. It says there have been more than 50 companions over the years. Although some have stuck around a lot longer than others, a few of them have even served as love interests, but most have shared a strictly platonic relationship with the Doctor. Though they all must leave the show eventually, some have left a lasting impression on viewers in their wake. I cannot read today. So let's see, 150. We're going to check this out, who they say, and if we agree or not. How do you stand on that particular companion, Brendan?
I don't really stand at all. I mean, I do know how he fitted into it. He made no sense to me. I didn't like the characterization. It was just a wasted event to me.
Yeah. What about you? Did you see the episodes with him in it too?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really recall them kind of directly. I agree. They were putting him there for putting him their sake.
Because people knew who he was, I guess. I mean, even I knew who he was. Of course, he's one of y'all's Little Britain, that show that
it got the
I think
occasional
Tom
laugh
Baker
from me, if memory serves, but you know, there was no real purpose to him.
So we got that one. You ever see the episodes with him in it, Rachel?
Yeah, I have. I
know
can't
he was
really
in, like,
remember them
Husbands.
particularly well.
Yeah, me neither. That's the
He
thing.
didn't make much of an impact. Matt Lucas is better than what the writing was given.
Oh yeah,
him,
definitely.
I think.
I've seen him in a couple movies. Let's see. Given how stern and serious Peter Capaldi's Doctor could be at times, it's no wonder the show's writers felt the need to bring in a bit of comic relief. This came in the form of Nardole, who served as the only non-human companion of the New Who era in the first in more than 3 decades. Given his background and fantastic sense of humor, Matt Lucas was arguably the perfect man for the job. However, the Little Britain creator brought more to the role than just cheap laughs, with Nardole also responsible for his fair share of serious moments. The fact that he spent most of his time on Earth rather than traveling with the Doctor actually worked in his favor, as although it would have been nice to have seen a bit more of Nardole here and there, his limited screen time prevented his shtick from ever becoming stale. And that's arguable. Here's I can't believe this wasn't number one. How was this not number one? Let me read the blurb first. Yaz was perhaps a little overshadowed by Ryan and Graham during her first few seasons on the show. However, as time passed, I do too. However, as time passed, she gradually grew into her role and eventually became one of the 13th Doctor's closest and most likable companions. Of course, just about anyone could appear likable if placed alongside Dan, so that may not be saying all that much. Though it took a little while for the show to formally acknowledge Yaz's feelings for the Doctor, the quote, will they, won't they, unquote, style relationship between the pair was one of the very few things that the show's writers got right during the Jodie Whittaker tenure as the Doctor. The fantastic on-screen chemistry between Whittaker and Mandy McGill really sold the relationship and helped to cement Yaz's status as one of the best Doctor Who companions of all time.
Whoa.
Whoa.
No.
I tell you what, Adric better
Brendan.
be here then.
yeah, God knows. What do you think, Brendan? Are you a big fan of the character Yasmin?
No, because that was a whole load of rubbish that was just written then. Because to be quite honest, she only ingratiated herself to the Doctor because behind the scenes, the two actors had a great wheeze that would be a great idea to do. So basically, the poor two male actors weren't working on the producer to say, write our role up, mate. We want a relationship with the Doctor. They were too respectful. Meanwhile, she's going, here, write me a bigger role. I think I fancy the Doctor. I mean, talk about working it up.
How it suddenly just sort of like came into being with no like implication as well. It was like so unnatural.
Didn't you find
they must have loved that idea of the Beeb though.
Oh,
that
God.
was floated to them. Brilliant, brilliant guys. Do it.
It's very brilliant, mate.
Well, we saw those lovely photographs at the beginning, didn't you both? Well, sorry, all three of you. Didn't you find that lovely romantic moment when they were sat on the TARDIS having an ice cream? Didn't you find that romantic?
Was that in Power of the Doctor? Yeah, and she's on her farewell tour. Oh my goodness, I just think they missed. We've talked about it on this before too, Brendan. But like conceptually, none of us, I don't think, really had a problem with it being a female Doctor. It was just more of like they could have really done some cool things. Like they didn't do any like obvious gags or things that would make fun of or make observations about her having changed from a man to a woman. And so after the first episode with her, when they didn't really lean into it, I knew something wasn't right, that it wasn't going in a direction that I was really cool with. And then Rosa Parks, I think Tuna started to check out a little bit around that same episode. But when I realized I was watching
That
a
was the
British,
episode.
yeah,
That was the
that was the
episode.
last episode I watched new. I came back and watched everything else later just for completionist sake. But the Rosa Parks thing just confused me because I was like, why are you even talking about this? Because your show's mostly made for people in England. They don't care about Rosa Parks. You know what I'm saying? I just thought in the way they went about things, I just didn't really like it. And also like Whitaker, she came across, well, Woody, hey Woody, what's up, man? This is a good point. Whitaker's doctor seemed like a moron. Like, all respect to Northern English people, we got one present. But I think, where is she from? She's from somewhere in Northern England because she's got that
Is she a
accent.
Yorkshire lass?
She's
Is she-
actually, yeah, she's West Yorkshire, Huddersfield.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. She has some smarts though. She married an American. Let's see. Just like Winston Churchill's dad. It is a thing with her is like I felt like you can't sell to me this person's supposed to be a genius. Like I don't ever feel like she really connected in that character to me.
She was trying. A lot of us think she was trying to do, because remember her mate was David Tennant in Broadchurch, and a
Mhm.
lot of us think she was trying to do a female version of David Tennant. The trouble is, because David Tennant's doctor, I wasn't overawed with, because I thought he was delivering the lines very fast. I didn't like that style. And think, oh, whatever.
Mhm.
Sell the line will, it's almost as if they're embarrassed about the science fiction gobbledygook. So basically, he talked fast to look wacky. She tried the same trick and just looks gawky. It doesn't work. And yeah, you're right. If you're going to pick a female doctor and make such a hell of a change to Doctor Who history, write it well. And actually, I thought, you could have humor, but the other thing is you could actually have the doctor realizing they suddenly are female, and suddenly some of the things they got away with as a male may not work. I mean, really hit the politics of it, really hit the problems of being a woman as compared to a man physique,
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah,
bit like
I agree.
a bit like the Black Companion in Rosa. God, that should have been I miss and lament cliffhangers. Where have they gone? Because Ryan, obviously, in that situation, would have been in peril, and when he was disconnected from the doctor, a lynch mob, people could have got him, and then you would have seen racism at its absolute worst, and then cliffhanger. The drama would have taught you enough to think,
That's
oh
why
my
I wish.
God.
I know it probably wouldn't work nowadays. And so Tuna, and there were so many variations. It might have been 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, as many as 10. Like the old Doctor Who was different. It wasn't just like a 45-minute episode. It was usually around 4 25-minute episodes, and they would work in some sort of cliffhanger every time. So like a cliffhanger almost became like a part of Doctor Who viewing, at least when I look back on it and try to put myself in the headspace of, say, someone like you, Brendan, watching it growing up. I don't know if I'm right about that or not, but I let's see.
I
held it
definitely
for a
prefer a multi-story over a single episode.
What'd you say now, Rachel?
I definitely prefer a multi-story over a single episode.
Yeah, you get used to that, but I like that old format, man. I just like it, and I like it. It's also good for like binge watching for some reason. I just dig it. It kind of flows fast, and so the things I'm watching right now has this particular companion, Jo Grant. And are you familiar with her, Rachel? I don't know how much old. You've pretty much seen all of it. So this was Tuna. This was the third Doctor, John Pertwee. This was his second companion, and I didn't think I was going to like her. The only thing I had seen her in was like, wasn't she on an episode of Sarah Jane and sitting talking to Matt Smith or something? Yeah. And I didn't know if I was going to like that character. I did not like the character for the first episode or two, but she's grown on me. Let's see what they say about her. This one actually, how most of the Doctor's people that he finds are incidental or whatnot. This he was working for UNIT because he's stranded on Earth, and the Liz from the season before left. So this person actually walks in and says, "Hey, I'm your new assistant. I've been hired." So she actually was hired to be his companion in a way. Starring alongside the third Doctor, Jo Grant appeared in 77 episodes of the show over a 3-year period, so I better get used to liking her. With her departure in The Green Death, still one of the most emotive episodes in the entire history of the sci-fi series. Do you agree with that, Brendan? Because I'm about to experience that here pretty soon.
Yeah, when they say the most emotive, remember there was no real emotion in Classic Who, which I appreciated. And so basically it was quite emotional because basically the third Doctor just stared at the house where she was staying with her fella and he was losing her. And actually, there's a lot of episodes, where John Pertwee's Doctor kind of thinks he's going to lose her. End of Curse of Peladon. He has a moment. Is she going to stay with the king? Planet of the Daleks. Is he Lytep or something? There's one of the Thals that she seems to take a fancy to. And so there seems to be a few stories where it looks as though Jo might just disappear from the third Doctor's wing. And I think when we did a show recently and we got all the trolls, which was Sex in the TARDIS, clickbait title. And we were talking about relationships in Who and how the Doctors become sexualized and the TARDIS has become sexualized and whether that's a good or bad thing. And everybody was saying the John Pertwee Doctor had a romantic affection for Jo Grant. And I thought, no, he did not.
No, he didn't.
More fatherly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he loved her, but in a different way.
Yeah, and I think that's another case of that's probably somebody who's who maybe is not as well informed, but somebody like me that maybe came to it through New Who first. And I think unless you get it, I think they probably haven't even sat and watched those old episodes. A lot of times they're using what they know about New Who to go back and comment. So that's why I was like, man, I can't be talking about Doctor Who and not seeing all the episodes.
Well, did you all see? It was in Doctor Who magazine last year. I think it was to commemorate Gay Pride or something. And they went through all the old characters, and they suddenly saw them through a new prism and started saying this character was gay. This one was lesbian.
Oh, this is an allegory for Yeah,
and I thought you are really rewriting all of Classic Who. Yeah. This didn't happen.
Reading too much into it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. That's that whole the whole thing with messages being like more important than the medium is so bad.
Well, Ace, I would say that Ace, because she was dressed a bit like a tomboy, she suddenly is not a tomboy. She's more than that. Because I keep hearing this now that Ace is definitely not.
No. Ace, you're talking about Ace. No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could see them saying she's a tomboy, but that's like something I say is I don't want to get too specific, but somebody I know that maybe would have just been like a lesbian, if it was 25 years ago, basically gets talked into doing some drastic stuff. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying is like they want to paste that on everything, and that's just not always the case.
Well, they're talking about Tegan and Nyssa together, aren't they? That's
now they are together, and apparently those are apparently they are together. And I had read that somewhere. Like, I don't know if it was in the books. I think you've read a bunch of the books like me, haven't you, Brendan? Didn't you say you've got every one of the New Adventures, don't you?
Yeah.
You even have Lungbarrow.
Sorry? Oh no, I haven't. I haven't. Oh. So when they referenced it when War of the Sontarans or something, and you saw her having that glimpse, I wasn't getting as excited as some people were. No.
Yeah,
no, I hate. You see, you're talking about the best companions and that, but they're suddenly being rewritten. All these classic ones who did a bit here and a bit there suddenly had a sexual flavor. No, they didn't.
Yeah, I think it. Especially watching old Who, like I think they went, and I can understand modern audiences and all that jazz, but I think with the romantic end of it, they just leaned into it a smidge too hard. Like they could have had, even if they wanted to just be out and out romance, but they could have had more ambiguity. It seems like after a while you're watching a girlfriend and boyfriend go around. Well, we had somebody bring up on the podcast last week. They're like, well, isn't this kind of weird? He's like 1,000 years old and she's 19. You know what I mean? And I'd never thought about it.
Well, three of my panelists are former teachers. One's a ex-head teacher. I'm an ex-head of years. So we said, look, if you're going to take Doctor Who seriously like RTD does now, and everybody's very serious about the message, okay, then we'll take your logical conclusion then. It's a safeguarding issue. When he says to Ruby Sunday, a young girl who's obviously had a checkered past regarding, she might be emotionally fragile, and he invites her into the TARDIS, he might look as though he's about 30, but he's 1,000 odd years old. There's something wrong with that. And it's a bad message for kids on safeguarding. Yeah. When 2005, we had the relaunch, remember Chris Eccleston's Doctor, do you want to come with me? That's a pervy invite nowadays if you think of the age gap. So if you want to take Doctor Who seriously, you're stuffed. Don't do messaging like that.
Which is why we didn't.
Yeah.
This is the this next one is the only relationship, and then I would actually have to ask you because this is one of my favorite companions. This is Romana, another time lady. For the uninitiated, basically after the doctor has to let Sarah Jane go home, and he goes to this event on his home world, and afterwards they need him to find the pieces of this thing called the key to time, and the Time Lords assign Romana to be with them. And the first Romana is played by Mary Tam, and then the second one was played by Lala Ward, who ended up going on to marry Tom Baker as they worked together. But this was one of my favorites. And I've mentioned this on this one. I think I might have said something on the Sense Sphere too, is like having a Time Lord companion doesn't work, but for so long, because you really need to have the vehicle of seeing things through human eyes. You know, like you need to have that POV character, not universally, but so I think, you know, maybe another Time Lord doesn't work, but the way they kind of played it to me was, you know, Tom Baker's fourth Doctor was a lot more acclimated, a lot more cultured to dealing with lesser beings or whatnot. You know what I mean? And so you can tell he's kind of, he tries to educate her, I guess. And she gets better about dealing with people. And I would say arguably becomes a good person, especially by the time the vampire and the E-Space stuff happens. Let's see what it says about her. The idea of the Doctor being accompanied by another Time Lord is certainly an interesting one. And Romana definitely lived up to the expectations. Mary Tam did a wonderful job of bringing the character to life. And though she ended up leaving the show after just a single season, her lasting impact on the Whoniverse can still be felt today. There have been numerous iterations of Romana in the years since Tam's departure, both on the small screen and in the series' many spin-off novels. The hunt for the 6 segments of the Key to Time and the showdowns with the Marshal and the Black Guardian were easily the character's best moments, though, and serve as a great advertisement for a more involved companion. What, Rachel, what do you think? Did you like Romana?
I did. I actually think Mary Tam's Romana is better than Lala Ward's.
I agree.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
My opinion. Yeah, it's a shame that she didn't actually stay on, but it's because of Mary Tam that we actually had Lala Ward anyway. So
true that. Because she was in like the last story and the last, you know, she was playing a totally different character.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, like, Tuna wouldn't know nothing about Romana, and here's what I'm gonna say where he should. The fact that they haven't brought Romana into the new, like, I feel like they should have used her by now, and maybe you don't agree.
Well, let's just hope they don't going forward.
Yeah, well, at this point, no. But what did you like Romana, Brendan? Did you have a preference for the first or the second one?
I mean, I agree with what you were saying initially about her, because she had the Liz Shaw problem, which is she knew a lot. She was very scientific, and that created a strange dynamic. But Tom Baker's Doctor suddenly, from that era, because I was just watching the Ribos operation the other day, he started playing it very, very silly. And he does tone it down as the Key to Time progresses. But in the Ribos operation, it's quite depressing to watch that she's haughty and serious, naive as hell, you know, a swat. And he's acting like the class clown. And that's why it kind of starts to work, because if he played Clever Dick and she did, it would have been boring as hell. But yeah, it does work that I love that haughty manner she has. And she looked as glam in, she'd just been in the movie The Odessa File, hadn't she? And she looked glam in that. And it was a similar kind of fur as well. And I thought her best one was The Androids of Tara. I thought she was fabulous in that, because she played a doppelganger. She played an android.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Those I have seen. Do you think, were they together or were they not? They weren't together, were they, Brendan?
No, intellectually they loved each other. They did crosswords and everything. They said they loved their banter. But yeah, I think
they people have talked about that sometimes. Then they leave her in like a different dimension. But I just recently read some books, one of the New Adventures, and then it led into the first missing adventure called Goth Opera, and they get her out of in space and deal with some vampires and whatnot. So now we're gonna. Oh yeah. Oh wait, I forgot. We got a lady on the panel. I can't be a total perv like usual. But next, we're going to one of my favorites. Okay, I got a lady and a teacher on the panel. I got to behave. Leela. Leela. And see, here's the thing is like, and not to be too graphic, but you know, Leela, I don't know if you guys have seen her. She's done like a couple special videos and things like that for the DVDs. Is like,
Special videos.
Yeah, well, and I'd make. I mean, I'd still hang out with her because I could still picture, you know. But so anyway, let's
Her
get into
white
Leela.
hair now is amazing.
Yeah, I'd like to see her come back, man. Because you know they left her. She married a freaking Time Lord. It may say in this, Leela, or the Lady, as she's sometimes referred, joined forces with the Fourth Doctor during his visit to the face of evil and helped him to put a stop to the corrupted supercomputer Xolanon. She starts out as fairly primitive, though spending more time with the Doctor allows audiences to see another side of the character. That said, Leela's use of force to get things done is something that sticks with her right to the very end, much to the dismay of the Doctor. This does make her an excellent bodyguard, though, as evidenced by her time traveling with the second version of Romana a little later. Yes, she was a total badass. She was like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brennan, but I think her people had crashed, like a spaceship had crashed, and they were like the descendants, and they had lived like they're living like savage people, or oh gosh, I shouldn't say that because I was going to say like Native Americans. I wasn't saying they were savage people, but you know, like a native type person, and she was quick to pull that knife out on everybody, and so I really like that character. It was a crazy contrast to the Doctor who doesn't want to kill anybody, and her first instinct was to like put a knife to somebody's throat, you know.
Yep, she had the knife, she had the Janus thorn, she knew how to kill somebody in the talons of Wen Chian. She picks up a piece of meat and eats it, with her hand. She doesn't know manners. It's Pygmalion, it's My Fair Lady, isn't it? It's just it's the story of how to gentrify somebody with Tom Baker, but she acted that so well. I mean, obviously Rachel has seen her in Emmerdale or something with the white hair. She's shocked. She's brilliant, isn't she?
Yeah, well, she I've seen her in that, and EastEnders. She was originally EastEnders before, like years ago.
She had a white streak then, didn't she?
Yes,
She had a
right,
white streak. And then she was in Tenko. She was brilliant because she was a prisoner in the Japanese war camp. And then she's a damn good actress. That's
very good.
Jameson. And she played this savage so well because, there were some lines there for her to feed on, but she only had basic 70s companion lines. But you could see her eyes and the way she would be copying and everything. And her character meant that Chris Boucher in Robots of Death did that best explanation of transdimensional TARDIS, when he had the two boxes. And to explain to Leela, a savage, how the TARDIS works was a damn good excuse,
She, from my point of view, like when I was doing my year of Who and watching all the classic stuff, like, so, you know how like you were asking me and Michelle and stuff on the Sense Sphere, like how we felt about episodes that to you guys, you saw brand new, like cliffhangers where somebody died and things like that. And I think she and I gave similar answers. Well, we knew that stuff was going to happen from having read about the show and read about things watching the news show, but it was so good that I didn't care. But so then you know when you bring it up, you can look and see the next episodes and the next seasons, and so I'm like, oh, this is awesome, but I want to hurry up and get to this and get to that. But I liked Leela. I didn't want to see her go, but I was ready. I wanted to experience Romana. Now the next one's going to be slightly controversial. I guess maybe we will finally have our first fight on the council because this is Tuna's favorite. You son of a bitch. you hick bastard. All right, so this is Bill Potts. She was not a terrible actress, but let's read what it says about her. And I don't really hate that character. I'll say what. For a series that's renowned for celebrating campiness and diversity, it's perhaps a little surprising that Bill was the first openly gay companion to travel with the Doctor. There's far more to the character than just her sexuality, though. Okay, all right. With her strong personality arguably being her defining feature, Bill didn't spend as much time with the Doctor as some of the series' other companions, but she was still able to squeeze in a few excellent adventures. The climax of the 10th series is particularly memorable, with her and Heather ultimately getting their happily ever after moment, following several episodes of chaos and uncertainty. So with Bill, she ended up in an absolute, what was the name of the episodes? Brendan, you're like a freaking encyclopedia. What was the episode where they show her as one of the early Cybermen?
It was
World
it was a very strange title. It was like The World Is Not Enough or something. I know that's
World Enough, World Enough and Time. I think World Enough and Time.
Very strange title.
And that was great. I thought she was great in that. The only thing I don't like is they leaned like, I can totally understand. I know there was times when people didn't accept different sexualities, different. I get that, man, and I very much hope for a perfect world where that stops. But it seemed like with her character, they leaned into that pretty heavy. I was like, "Hey, Bill, how you doing today? I'm gay. It's raining." You know, you know what I'm saying? And so it seemed like she brought that up to the doctor all the time. You know,
I think what writers I think miss in trying to do their, Stephen Moffat's straight, etc., in trying to do their kind of, sadly, it does look like tick boxing. Right, okay, have a lesbian character, no problem with that. But what they did is, because they leaned so heavily into, this is a lesbian character, by the way, can I just explain this is a lesbian character? They were forgetting the point that whether you were lesbian, gay or straight, wouldn't it be more exciting that you're traveling around the universe in a TARDIS? Isn't that a bit more exciting than talking about your sexuality?
Well, and another way to get around people's prejudices, I think, is to create, maybe you don't come out with that first thing and you create such a good character, then just like in real life, if maybe you come into a situation where, oh, okay, well, I should be accepting. There's no reason to be prejudiced about this, that, or the other, but they don't do that. They don't ever put their best foot forward. But she was definitely not one of my favorites. But it was very sad though when they turned her into a Cyberman and the doctor finds out. It was awful. So she did have some good moments, no doubt. Ah, yes, Martha
not one of
Jones.
my favorites.
Oh, how could she not be your favorite? Martha Jones. Martha Jones joined the show just before Rose's departure, and is with the doctor for some of his lowest points. Her unrequited feelings for him were a bit of a distraction at times, agree, but they did at least lead to some real personal growth. She really blossoms into her role as a companion over time, demonstrating plenty of heroic qualities along the way. After all memory of the doctor is erased by the Master's paradox machine, it is Martha, together with Jack and the rest of the Resistance, who de-ages the Gallifreyan and helps to free the planet from the Master's rule. With the Earth once again safe, Martha bids farewell to her time-traveling life and settles down with Rose's ex-boyfriend, Mickey. Yeah, I forgot they got married before they canceled him. So starting with Tuna, what do you like her? Did you like her as a companion?
I did, yeah. I mean, I really
above and beyond her looks. I have to differentiate.
I'm not like you. I actually judge the character. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. What I really liked about the end of season 3 is that Martha kind of acted like I believe a companion should. I think recently we want to make the companion like another hero, whereas Martha wasn't going all guns blazing. She was spreading the word about the doctor, etc., etc. Yeah, I really like her. Yeah, I mean, I think potentially kind of top 5 companion for me, I think.
I really always dug her.
Yeah.
What about you, Brendan? You like Martha?
Yeah, I mean, if you took the nonsense away that they give it this unrequited love nonsense, I mean,
they lean into that very heavy.
Yeah, just leave it. I mean, I think you could have built a nice character there that wasn't fawning all over the doctor, because while you're trying to, make women look strong in certain roles, you made her look pathetic. And yet she's a damn good actress. She's done well in Hollywood. She's done well on Netflix since. So she was underused by Doctor Who, let's put it that way. And so in that one series of 13 episodes, they could have done more interesting stuff with what her acting talent was than just have her fawning all over the Doctor and being all full of woe.
Mm-hmm. The girl that played her sister, she's got an odd, like, African name, Ngugu or something. She's gone on to be in like Marvel. She plays Romana Renslayer, the not her sister in real life, but Martha's sister on the show. She plays Romana in some of the bad newer MCU stuff. But I always liked her. I hated seeing her go, but I thought that the whole unrequited thing was super cringy.
Yeah. And again, it was just a replication really of Rose to a degree, with the family setup and the mum and the dad and all that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's why Donna was such a welcome change, because you knew that wasn't going to be the dynamic. Some of my favorites right here. Now, these are the originals, man. This was, of course, in the very first episode, it's William Hartnell's the doctor and Susan, his granddaughter, and we don't know any more behind that. I wish we did. Barbara and Ian were the first of several companion couples, but they weren't, I don't think they were a couple really until after they were on the show, like in the expanded media, but I may be wrong, as well as the first companions to travel with the doctor against their will. The former teachers accidentally find themselves inside the TARDIS after following Susan home one day and soon find themselves in the year 100,000 BC. They're present for the introduction of the Daleks and also visit the French Revolution and the ancient Aztecs before their eventual escape. Due to the pair effectively being the Doctor's prisoners, the relationship that they have with him is entirely unique when compared to other companions. They eventually come to a mutual understanding of sorts with the Doctor, although this doesn't stop them from attempting to return to their old lives whenever opportunity presents themselves. I don't really like the way they describe them. I don't know. Do you definitely be one to ask Brendan? Like, I don't know if they felt like prisoners. Maybe the first couple of adventures because they couldn't get home. But
yeah, there was an element because remember the first Doctor deliberately took off without their consent, so he took them prisoner in a way then because they had no choice. But I thought we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? Because I showed the first TARDIS crew, didn't we? I talked about, you know, it was a snog, marry, avoid, cheapo item, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but,
they got me. They got my southern ass to say the word snog. Oh, smooching. I think would be our similar colloquialism.
But I thought that, I mean, and I'm not going to say it just because I'm a teacher, but I did actually think they, if you think about all the companions we've had in Doctor Who over the 60 years, they were fairly middle-aged then. And so they had a bit of status, and you remember how, you know, the program was set up to educate, inform, and entertain. And those two, you know, history teacher, science teacher, they had their roles there, very handy for time and space. And their suspicion with the Doctor, because of course one of the very first moments was when Ian stopped the first Doctor from killing a caveman.
Yeah, that's right.
So you could see that disconnect at the beginning, but by the end of the Daleks, Ian and Barbara worked him out. Yes, he tricked them to go and visit the Dalek city, but by the end of those 7 episodes, I think they're settled with he's mostly a good man. He's just got some cheeky ways.
And they even as gruff as his exterior is as the first Doctor, they develop a fairly close relationship with him. He didn't want to see them leave when they left in that other time machine.
No, and that's what we speculated on. We said, well, none of us were here then, but you know, when one or two, you know, like Rose goes through into the alternative universe, Murray Gold plays it, you know, big on the music and it for high drama. When those two left, there were the 2 originals, weren't there? And I wonder how shocking it was for fans then to see 2 go at the same time of the originals, because that's a hell of a lurch.
Yeah, it's a big change. I mean, I'm sure it was probably, I mean, of course, this is before they had to change doctors and everything too. So, I mean, I guess this is definitely a show where they've got plenty of experience making some very drastic changes and still trying to keep people interested. You know, the fact that they've been able to do that as long as they have is pretty good accomplishment. But I always liked them. I enjoyed their stories. I got into I was talking about how I was watching an old episode and how I got into it. Like, come on, let's go. I was watching The Chase, where it's the first Doctor tuna, and they're basically like they've locked onto the Daleks have locked onto the TARDIS, so like everywhere they show up, the Daleks are like right behind them, and I just felt like it was a pretty novel idea for the time period, you know. And I enjoyed that one. That was my favorite first Doctor story. And they pick up Steven. He's another one there. He plays 2 parts. He plays a Southern American in America, like on vacation or something, and then they pick him up later in the same serial as a different character.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I don't. Okay, we're in top 10 range now. Wilf, man. Okay, let me just read what it says. I'm gonna be sad, but I'm even sadder considering how things ended up. Wilf was already an incredibly likable character, even before his brief time traveling with the Doctor. That he then helped to save the planet and was willing to sacrifice his life in the process only helped to make him more popular with fans of the long-running sci-fi show. Though his time beneath the main spotlight was short, his role as Donna's grandfather and, to some extent, the Doctor's friend, makes Will fairly unique. Unlike other companions who, for the most part, come and go pretty quickly these days, he lasted 3 whole years, albeit in slightly more reserved role. I mean, I love Bernard Cribbins, man. He's the man. Where do you stand on this character, Tuna?
Yeah, I mean, look, what's not to love about him? I mean, the only thing I'd say, forgive me, our brains are still not functioning. Tennant's kind of effective, the episode where he kind of regenerated in, and we had the thing with, kind of Wilf in the chamber,
the knocks and all that. Yeah,
yeah. I'll be honest, that annoyed me. But other than that, taking that out of the equation, yeah, he was a really good character. I don't know why that annoyed me, to be honest. I think it was just the fact that he kind of knocking on the glass. I was like, no, I'm not in for that.
I think it's because you're a heartless bastard.
True.
Yeah. But no, I see what you're saying. But he's very beloved.
Yeah, he was a fantastic character, wasn't he?
Yes, I loved him. What about you, Rach? What did you think of him?
Yeah, I loved him. He's definitely one of my favorites. If we could have used him more, that would have been great. But I kind of understand why we didn't have him more as well. So it's quite nice when he did pop up.
I hate that. I hate that his final appearance was in those specials. What about you, Brendan? Did you enjoy this character? You like him?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I loved that moment. Funny enough, the 2 cubicles, and I don't. Yeah, just like you don't know why you don't like it. I don't know why I do like it. Apart from it just seemed nice and modest.
You're
that
muted,
the Doctor
Tuna.
would have to regenerate over just one old man and not saving the universe like the Gopolis. But it was written in writer's tale, wasn't it? Because when Russell Davies was writing this, some of it's all fluke, and he just makes it work together, and it's not planned. And he kept saying in the writer's tale, "I don't know how I'm going to finish David Tennant's era off." And then suddenly he said, and I think he'd already planned the 4 knocks without even thinking about what that would mean. And then it all came together. One of my favorite scenes with Wilf Mott was on the spaceship when he was talking to David Tennant, looking back at Earth about being in the war, being a war veteran, and also in the coffee shop. It was almost like an EastEnders Kathy Beale's kind of calf. And they were talking again, and the Doctor was talking about Razalon and how he, the Time Lords treat him and everything. And because he was a granddad and because he was so well played, it was a real scene. It felt so deep. And it was like the Doctor looking up to somebody who had more experience than him.
Right.
Very, very well played. Plus, you had the cheeky side. Remember when all the veterans got on the oldies bus, all looking.
Yeah, he's having them help track down the Doctor to find out where he is. Yeah, that was awesome. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I hate that. I mean, it's kind of weird. Is like even though I have different opinions on the rest of the episode, but like when I saw him on screen for the special, I was like, oh yeah, there's Wilf, man. And I hate he passed away. I hate he wasn't. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was best that he wasn't healthier. But
it wasn't a very good send off, was it?
I would have rather them not brought him back at all.
Tennant was trying to have a nice kind of moment, and as always, we had to derail it.
Sometimes maybe it's just best to be left with a good memory about something. And I mean, maybe I'd feel differently if I felt differently. The one he was in was Wild Blue Yonder, was it not, at the very end? And then by the beginning of the next episode, he's passed away when they're filming or whatever, so they have to just say he's off doing something else. And in that conversation, the dinner or whatever they're having in Giggle, he's blowing shit up in the yard or something. I don't know.
Moles.
Yeah, moles.
Yeah, moles.
We have that problem here too.
I actually like that because he went shooting moles like in real life, Bernard Cribbins, and he was the voice of the Wombles. He did the Wombles, didn't he? So nice little shout out.
I thought it was an anticlimax.
We're about to get controversial.
I feel better for that Bernard Cribbins was phoned up and was called back, was excited about it, and did a day's filming. It was anticlimactic. It was a non-event of a scene. But I think just for the actor, he came back one more time, and actually literally a couple of days before he died. So I feel good about that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now I feel the same in that regard. Absolutely. I agree with you there for sure. But the thing that stinks, and I know his health just wasn't there, but God, just to have gotten like a a 5-minute scene of him and David Tennant sitting there talking would have been really cool, just to watch them, catch up. And Wilf be sitting there looking over and be like, what's all this fuck shit? You know what I mean? And we're like, what is all this other crap that's going on? So now next is slightly more controversial, especially in my house. My wife is not a fan of River, and it's not because every time she comes on screen I go, It's because she just doesn't really care for the character. So River here, the doctor's wife of all people. Oh, I've jumped too far ahead. Oh, Jack's next. Cool. Whether or not River's song actually counts as a Doctor Who companion, which I suppose is arguable, is perhaps a matter for debate. Assuming she does, though, she has to be up there with some of the very best, having had a huge impact on both the series as a whole and its titular character. In fact, she touched the hearts of 3 different iterations of the Doctor before eventually giving her life to save them. When fans think of River Song, most tend to remember a wonderfully intricate storyline that was carefully woven throughout both time and space. Her appearances were somewhat rare when compared to some of the other Doctor Who companions, but when she did show up, viewers knew that they could expect a good episode. I'm going to go to you first, Brendan. What did you think on River Song?
I think this is when we got into Stephen Moffat timey-wimey clever ass nonsense, because it was too clever by half. It was a neat little trick in a silent. Was it the one, the library one, the Vashta Nerada, that one?
A Silence in the Library. Yeah.
I love that one.
I mean, it was a nice idea that she kind of was ahead of him and she had the book and but
that's clever.
Yeah, to keep doing it, Stephen Moffat does have clever ideas, but he then makes them even more complex. And actually, I'm left, when you were reading about River Song, then I thought, well, what is actually my conclusion about her? And I just thought, I was just irritated by how complex and tedious and messy it was, and the Doctor didn't have a clue what was going on. I thought, what sort of relationships is it? And I have to say, this is when Stephen Moffat kind of doubled down on what RTD had slightly introduced with the Rose character, and then suddenly thought, we'll have Doctor Who does domestic. And I hate that.
They went too hard with that stuff.
Getting married and all. Oh, for God's sake! No.
True that. I actually, my opinion on her and that whole thing has actually changed, and I don't know if it's affected after me being affected by watching Classic Who or what. But on my most recent watch through, and this was like toward the end of last year, it didn't hit me the same. Like I started to kind of see more of the cracks in the whole River Song thing. It's like, okay, yeah, I see where people have a problem with it now. I just like to look at her, and so I never stopped to think about it. But she's definitely, there's like plot holes and all kinds of crazy stuff. And the first appearance with the Silence in the Library, and then her final appearance, The Husbands of River Song, I kind of like the interactions with her and Capaldi, but it's the in between that I have a lot of problems with. Oh, here we go. Now this one, Captain Jack, played by the very handsy John Barrowman.
Can I ask Rachel what her thoughts on River?
Oh, Rachel, where were you on? I'm sorry, where were you at on River Song? You loved her, didn't you?
She was all right. She wasn't my favorite. I just felt like it was the storyline was a bit milked for what it was worth, but other than that, I didn't have any major issues.
I feel like every woman I ask hates her, or they don't like her. Most of the women don't like her, but maybe it's because she's getting with the Doctor, But now this next one, man, this was a good character. This was one of RTD's better accomplishments. While many of the series' best companions tend to have their best moments with their second incarnation of the Doctor, see Sarah Jane, Clara, and Rose, Captain Jack Harkness is at his very best while alongside the Ninth Doctor. The similarities between Jack and Christopher Eccleston's Doctor lead to some excellent moments, but Jack is a brilliant character in his own right. John Barrowman was the first non-hetero character to appear in the series and was a big hit with audiences due to his no-nonsense approach to adventuring. This led to him returning multiple times throughout the series after his initial departure, and also becoming the lead in the hugely popular spin-off series Torchwood. Rachel, you first. What do you think about Captain Jack?
I like Captain Jack. He's fun.
I
think he's just good fun. And I think he's good because like he's not overused as well. So when when he does come back, it is a surprise. I mean, I know they did Torchwood. I didn't watch Torchwood. I wasn't into watching that. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say on him, really.
That's fun. Me and Tuna talked about him early on, and I was like, one of the things I thought was cool about him, and I don't know, it might not fly as well today because I will admit that some things that aren't, and woke is getting to be a stale word, but like things that some people are quick to call things woke. And so I don't know if this happened, like if he was a new character that hit, in this new season, I don't know how he would be received, but I just thought it was very clever that you've got this guy, handsome fella. He's a kind of, Indiana Jones or like a Han Solo type rogue adventure sort of character. But like, I thought the thought was funny is in like, he might look over, wink at a guy and slap him on the butt and then do the same thing to a woman on the way out. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a really clever way to have that introduced in a character. And he was so endearing that it just, I don't know. It was a cool thing. I liked him a lot.
This is how you handle that kind of character, isn't it? Okay.
By writing him well.
Sexuality.
Yeah.
It's about his character and what he added to the story and nothing else. That is how you do it.
And like when you first meet him, I didn't know that he was going to be, I didn't know enough about the show at the time, because the first thing of Doctor Who, anything I watched was the 9th season, and I had not spoiled it all yet. And I thought that at first I thought he was going to be like a rogue or a villain or something. I didn't see him at first as somebody sticking around, but I was glad that they did. Never big on Torchwood, but I like that character a lot. What about you, Brendan?
I felt.
Yeah, and I think I quite like the fact that you've got this character who quite clearly loves himself as well, and he ends up as a wrinkled face of Bo. I think, I think that's classic. That's good RTD. You see, I like that, because otherwise you've invented a kind of version of a Time Lord that he can't die. That kind of thing. But as it is, he ends up trapped in some sort of aquarium and just wrinkles or pickles away. And that was quite sad. I quite like that.
It is, isn't it?
Well,
I agree.
Yeah. If you stop and think about it from those terms, it's weird, but otherwise it's actually kind of heartfelt. Yeah, when he dies, it's sad. And they got the cat lady and all that. But yeah, I always liked that character. I just thought he was one of RTD's better home runs. Let's see who's okay. Now this is one of my favorites. Dorothy Ace McShane. Rarely does a companion consistently outshine the Doctor, but that's exactly what Dorothy Ace McShane did. She joined the show at a different time, with ratings declining and cancellation imminent, yet was able to breathe new life into proceedings with her bravery, humor, and intelligence. Ace stood strong when faced with seemingly insurmountable odds, once taking out a Dalek with nothing more than an enhanced baseball bat. Had the series not been canceled, she would have gone on to become a Time Lord herself, but instead ends up starting the charity A Charitable Earth, or ACE for short, because they brought her back in the Power of the Doctor, her and Tegan. She's one of my favorite. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I like her.
I mean, she's very 80s.
She is very 80s. I mean, I need to do a rewatch of Sylvester McCoy's era anyway, because it's been a long time since I watched it, just to like remind myself of what she's actually truly like. But she's great in the audio dramas.
Oh yeah, I was going to say she's in a ton of the expanded media. Yeah.
But she's feisty. And but she's a different kind of feisty from what Tegan was, because Tegan was very much like mouthy, and Ace is like, yeah, come on, let's do it. Let's take him out with a baseball bat, isn't it?
The Nitro
the
9.
book, Nitro 9, yeah. The books that they did, the New Adventures, are about her and the Seventh Doctor, and her character goes like through all kinds of changes. She goes off and becomes like a mercenary and all this stuff, man. So like she was one of the main characters in those books, and the tension between her and the Doctor in those books is so freaking bad. Sometimes it's like hard to read, but she was definitely one that I liked. What about you, Brendan?
Well, which way do I take this? a lot of people will say that the Ace character was the start of New Who. Because RTD saw what was done with Ace and thought, I'll do a similar thing with a Rose character. So it depends on your view of what New Who is. And of course, my problem with New Who, and I do like a lot of it, is the relationships element and the domesticated element, and sometimes the companion being much more important than the Doctor. It started with Ace particularly, and yeah, I do like the Ace character, Rachel. I do. It's just as the write-up said then, Brandon, she eclipsed the Doctor. Well, yeah, it was written like that. I mean, season 26 with Curse of Fenric, Ghostlight, and all them, he was trying to work her out, wasn't he, and make her face her fears. And so it was all about her, not about him. And then, of course, is she a lesbian or not now? And of course, in Curse of Fenric, she was charming a soldier behind the huts and giving him the wink, and she was playing all her sexual wiles there. I thought the Curse of Fenric was all about sexual awakening. Those two girls who, you know, dived in the water and all the rest of it, and at the end, Ace go for a swim. It was all about sexual awakening. And the fact that she discovered her sexual awakening with some foreign soldier, I think she knew exactly where she stood on that.
They say that the Curse of Fenric is really the first time a companion ever solely got their own sort of like little character arc. I remember the Curse of Fenric. It is a good story, don't get me wrong, but yeah, the only thing I don't like about Ace is the fact that she calls the Doctor Professor.
Yeah.
Like
she
that.
In the New Adventures books, she's straight and sleeps with everybody. I think there's 50 of those books. I own like the first 40, and I'm on like book 20 something. And I swear to God, every book, and I think a lot of that has to do with a different author, and each author is like, well, I want to do this particular, you know, romantic part of the story and all that. But she sleeps with every guy she meets, like in the New Adventures. It's crazy. She really, really gets around. But she is number 7. Okay, number 6. Oh, I have mixed feelings. Clara's first encounter with the Doctor came during Matt Smith's time with the show. Although it's perhaps her adventures with the 12th Doctor that fans will remember most fondly. She can be a little bossy at times, but her wit and her willingness to throw herself into everything that she does more than make up for this. Like Donna, Clara really helped the Doctor to remain grounded and wasn't afraid to call him out for his over-the-top antics. She always did what she thought was right, even if it meant endangering her own life to do so. After Danny's death, she loses a big part of herself, but replaces it with a newfound bravery that only makes her more heroic and likable. Tuna, where do you stand on Clara? I have mixed feelings, man.
No, disagree with what that kind of little paragraph said. I think maybe it just was a disconnect for me. I just didn't enjoy the character. I found Coleman annoying. No, sorry.
How do I put it? For me, I didn't like the way she interacted with the doctors. There was something about that I didn't care for. What about you, Brendan? How big of a Clara fan are you? Or Clara, I suppose I should say.
I'm not a fan of Stephen Moffat companions. So Amy and Amy Pond as well. A nice first episode, etc. But again, they took over. The thing I liked about the Impossible Girl, all that nonsense, no way. The bit I thought was well done is her death. Her death was very well done.
Yeah, and the after effects, like the Hellbent. Was it Hellbent? Or the one where he's like in the loop or whatever. Heaven Sent, yeah. Hellbent's the second one. But yeah, that was done very well. I enjoyed that. I remember watching those new and being really into that story. And but like the whole Impossible Girl, they tried so hard with that mess, and I just did not dig it at all. I didn't like it, and then tried to like insert her all along his timeline and all this complicated BS. She just wasn't really for me. I mean, they overcomplicated things, and I love John Hurt, but I don't like the thought of like we have unnumbered doctors now and regenerations that didn't happen and all that. I don't like screwing with it like that because it makes it confusing.
I don't like Clara very much either.
I was about to ask you, so you're not big on
no.
Yes. Woody makes a good point.
The reason why is and this is like a small reason, I think, but like when like in the past, when a companion's ever gotten into the TARDIS or they've gone and they visited somewhere, they're like, "Oh wow, this is amazing," and Clara's just like, "Nah, nah."
Seen
Not
it.
impressed.
Yeah, not
Completely, mate.
impressed. And I was just like, well, you're not ticking my boxes. So yeah, I mean, if I'm seeing it through the eyes of the companion, I want that companion to be like, well, this is amazing. That's what I want. But she
Me
just
too.
didn't do it.
Yeah, they're
And I
all
left
supposed to
that
be
with an
wowed.
afterwards.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
all supposed to be wowed by the TARDIS, and just it's supposed to be this fantastical,
Yeah.
unbelievable stuff. And like a lot of people are talking now that it's going into the fantasy realm. Brennan and them talk about that on his show too. But I guess for me, like one of the things I think that was so appealing for me about Doctor Who is I like so many different things and so many different types of genre that Doctor Who gives it all to you. So to say like, but I get what people are saying, like more fantasy elements and all that. But for me, it's like it can kind of do whatever in some regards. And let's see who's next. We're gonna finish some things I'm not gonna get to today, just not enough time. But I'm actually going to do a video on something. I was going to do a thing today on the Time Lords, but I don't have the time today. But we're going to run down this and see who's number one on this list. Let's go next is, and I don't know who wrote this. Respect to you, but I don't know how much Doctor Who you've watched. Oh yeah, there we go. I guess you could call him a companion on. Well, I mean, shit.
Yeah.
As much as he was part of. I love that character, often referred to as the Brigadier. Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart is one of the longest serving companions in the history of Doctor Who. His first meeting with the Doctor came during the Great Intelligence's invasion of London, although it was not until John Pertwee became the third Doctor that the pair really began to bond. Like Captain Jack Harkness, the Brigadier has a life away from the Doctor and is one of the founding members of the Unified Intelligence Task Force. He's fought the Daleks, the Dominators, and the Cybermen, and was even resurrected as one of the latter in 2014 episode. His daughter Kate took up the mantle after his death and met the 10th, 11th, and 12th Doctors during their time with UNIT. And she's met 14 and 15 since, and has some really wonderful people working for her, especially a lady in a wheelchair. And of course, she's good because you can't be bad and be in a wheelchair. But I think this isn't high enough on. Well, I don't know. I mean, I understand you could definitely argue of him as a companion. That's fine. But
I would say
like,
he's a companion because he was there for John
don't know if
Pertwee's
he
series, wasn't he? So I would say he's a companion.
after a fashion. I guess he's a companion after a fashion. But I mean, he's definitely top 10 of my favorite Doctor Who characters, and the actor playing him does a wonderful job. It's a very lovable character, and you get to see him come back a few times as the show goes. Of course, he's in the 20th. He's in the 5 Doctors. Is he in the 2 Doctors? I can't remember if he's in. I think he's in that one too.
No,
He's
no,
not.
No.
Oh, okay. I can't. Or no, he comes along with like the stuff with the 7th Doctor and like Morgan Le Fay and all that.
Yeah.
But and they had the new lady that's running UNIT. I can't Bombera. I can't remember. It was like a black lady that was running it, but he still shows up a little. But I love that character. He's definitely one of my favorites. Oh, see now, this is another one that as time goes on, I'm changing my mind. Like it used to be. Maybe I'm growing as a person. I have to ask my wife if she thinks I'm growing as a person. Amelia Pond and Rory Williams, I don't see them as number 4 on the best companions. As a matter of fact, I could almost argue with you that if we're looking, it really almost needs to be separated to old Who and new Who. But if we're looking at the entirety of the 60 plus years of the show, I don't have them in the top 5 at all.
Nope.
No.
Nope. They are not better than Captain Jack.
No.
And there's something I don't
know
like
who
about
wrote
no.
these.
Mm-mm.
And Joe Grant is very low down. I really.
Yeah,
Joe Grant
she is.
much
Yeah,
higher.
the person that wrote this has to be younger.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not, but like the thing with the Ponds, like on rewatch, and like I said, you tend to nitpick little things. Certain things you'll nitpick that like yourself 20 years ago would never believe if you told them. But like one thing I watched is like, I don't like them sending the message that a girl who's getting ready to be married tomorrow would just run off with a guy and be making out with me. And just like some of that, I just, if you think about it, just not a really good way to portray a character you're supposed to come to like. had some good episodes. Was it the girl who waited where she's like old Amy and they have to leave her behind? That was really good stuff. But
we
I
also
don't know.
threw in, and when we were talking our sexualization of the TARDIS thing, we were saying this is one of the most problematic characters actually, because she was a little girl when she met the Doctor, and then when she's an adult, she goes with him into the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Now that is seen as grooming nowadays, so you can't. It's an abuse of power because she respects him from being a kid, and she does because she says he's the man in the magic blue box and stuff, and she draws him and everything.
The Raggedy Man, yeah.
It's good old Stephen Moffat doing what he does, but the trouble is, it's extremely problematic if you take everything seriously as we do in 2024.
And they end up becoming the Doctor's in-laws, his mother and father-in-law, which it's like, I know that my tastes, I suppose, or I'm refining my Doctor Who palette. And when I rewatched that stuff recently, I'm like, it's enjoyable. I enjoy it. I'll watch it again, but like, it doesn't fly the same way when I look at it with new eyes. Some of it just like their whole deal. I like Rory. I like him a lot better as his character went on. He became the Centurion and all that, but
I like Rory more than I do Amelia.
Yeah, me too. I felt sorry for him. Is like I was wondering, like, is Doctor Who just about like these boyfriends getting cucked by the Doctor, just like Mickey, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's always like they just did too much. There was too much hanky panky in the TARDIS, obviously, and then you get River from these two, who's their daughter. All right, let's see who's next. We got 3 to go.
I'm surprised they didn't put that one as number 1.
Jeez Louise, man. While it's true that most of the series companions go on to form a special bond with their respective Doctor or Doctors, none quite compare to the one shared by Rose and the 10th Doctor. It's incredibly well written and provides viewers with a glimpse of the Doctor's human side. Even before that, though, Rose had a big impact on the series. Being the first companion of the modern era of Doctor Who may have phased some, but Billie Piper takes to the role like a duck to water. Rose's outgoing personality helped to bring balance to Eccleston's sullen and serious interpretation of the Doctor, while also playing a key, albeit questionable, role in the events of the first series climax with that whole Bad Wolf thing. Rachel, you go first. What do you think about Rose? Is she top 3?
If you're including classic companions, maybe not.
No. She just tick down.
Yeah, she's just tick down. No, if you're just talking about New Who, she definitely would be just in the top 3 for sure. Yeah, I like Rose. I think she becomes overused. I do think that. I think they should have stopped using her whilst she was still like fresh, but she was a good companion to reintroduce New Who with, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
And it was a good casting choice as well, actually, I think. But she was full of wonder, she was full of questions, and just like, who is this man? Who is this person? And they actually do show, the fact that this, how old is she when she starts? It's 19?
19.
19, isn't she? This 19-year-old just takes off with this random man, and they show the impact of that in a much later episode. And I think that was really well done. I do like
I agree with that. We went too hard with the hanky panky and all that stuff later. But like I think somebody said this on your thing Sunday, Brendan, but the last we ever saw Rose should have been that the episode where she goes over to the parallel world, like not where she comes back over for that big crossover. I would have just left her out of that. Yeah, I would have rather seen them bring a classic companion or Sarah. Well, Sarah Jane ended up being there too, but like I liked her, but I just felt like they should have not brought her back, or if whatever they're going to do. But they were so damned and determined to have that love story. The seeds of it obviously are there in the first season, but
you see, sorry, Rachel.
No, I was going to say, in actual fact, I actually agree with that. I don't think they should have brought Rose back for Series 4. I think, because by that point they already had Sarah Jane Adventures, right? So they should have just asked Liz Sladen to do it, and it should have been Liz Sladen working with Donna. I
think they should have. God, I hope she's got to be number 1 on here. I wish while she was still alive, I wish they had been able to bring her back as like the Doctor's companion for a little bit. She was just, and I liked that character. You got to figure the first time I ever see her, other than looking things up on Wikipedia, is in what's it called? Class Reunion, or what the hell is the name of that episode?
Class Reunion was the name of the episode, wasn't it?
I think
Okay.
so.
The one where the K9 and her and the 10th Doctor
Yeah.
meet Sarah Jane and all that, you know, that I liked her from that episode and seeing her a couple of times, but I didn't realize how good of a character and how much I liked her until I went back and watched Classic. But I really liked her. I'm sure she's going to be on here. But as far as Rose, I mean,
Brendan, what were you going to say about Rose?
oh, I just feel like she served a good purpose. She definitely did a good job of being like a modern person. Oh, Brendan. Yeah, see, that shit gets confusing.
I want you to think too, Brandon.
All right, go ahead,
I'll tell
Brendan.
you what, that was Sean. The other day we had 2 Brandons and a Brendan. It was so confusing.
Oh,
But,
no.
so no, Rose. I liked Rose with Chris Eccleston.
Yeah.
I thought it worked better because we didn't have any of the shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
And some of the dialogue was good. You know, after her first foray into space, she wanted chips. You know, that sort of thing. That she was a grounded girl, and yes, she grew, but we didn't need her to grow sexual feelings for the Doctor in the second series. I liked her with Chris Eccleston, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I never really thought about it, but yeah, I like her better with him than with the whole relationship thing they had going on for sure. Let's see. I wonder how things would have been different had Eccleston actually stayed on the show, you know. But now this is kind of like that question I asked earlier about is Tennant tainted now in your eyes? They got Donna Noble as number 2 by the lovely Catherine Tate. Ever since her first appearance in Doomsday, Donna regularly served as the show's comic relief. Although there's a lot more to her than just lightening the mood. After he loses Rose, the 10th Doctor starts to become a little withdrawn. And it is only with Donna's help that he's finally able to return to his old self. It would have been easy for the writers to set her up as another romantic interest, but the platonic relationship shared by Donna and the Doctor is arguably a lot more rewarding to viewers. I agree. She understands the Doctor better than most companions, as well as why it's important for him to have a companion in the first place. Yeah, I mean, I love Donna, but I feel like they kind of screwed up the whole thing they had with the Metacrisis. Well, which I mean, that whole thing is kind of stupid anyway. The Metacrisis thing, I didn't really like that, but the thing I did like about it was when he has to erase Donna's memories, and it's a very sad thing, right? But like they just did away with that so fast in the Star Beast, you know. I don't. Where do you stand on Donna, Tuna?
Well, you see, I'm coming from the unfortunate position that I can't stand Catherine Tate, so this probably isn't going to go very well for me. So unfortunately, it was a no from me. I understand, you know, everybody seemed to like her. I just can't go with the fact that I find Tate really annoying. So
I could easily see that. Yeah, I was a little annoyed by her when I first saw her in the first episode or two, but
I've just never found her funny in anything she's ever done. So when she was announced for this, kind of my heart sank a little bit because I knew I was just not going to go on with it.
Oh, I see. I don't know. I didn't, you know, over here we didn't have any exposure to her, so I didn't know who she was. I know she's kind of like a comedic person, variety show, stuff like that. But at the time, I'd never heard of her. You know what I mean? Conceptually, she's pretty cool. She's pretty cool. I like the fact that there's no relationship there, or at least not it's just platonic. What do you think, Brendan? You like Donna?
Yeah, we share a surname, so I really feel
that's right.
Now, I've been playing around with this over time, and I have to. Sarah Jane is obviously my childhood, so obviously Sarah Jane, you would expect to be my default, and she has been for a long time. But of the last few years, I have actually started to wonder whether actually I approve more, because obviously in Classic Who, the companions get hardly a line. So there's not much development. You know, Liz Sladen will have tried her heart with her relationship with Tom Baker to make that work, and they did it very well, but there weren't many lines there. Whereas Donna Noble was well written and had more and challenged the Doctor, and she told him off in Fires of Pompeii, and her arc at the end with Turn Left and with her well, the way she finished off as a companion was like she suffered Alzheimer's. It's like the cruelty of Alzheimer's when somebody loses their memory, and she had a memory taken from it. It's the most tragic thing I think humans can see. And so that was very dramatic, more dramatic than a death, really, in some ways, and cruel. And we all know how cruel Alzheimer's and dementia is. So I thought that was outstanding. The trouble is, as you've just said, it's a bit like it's poisoned my view of the David Tennant doctor. She came back and they ruined her regarding this meta crisis nonsense. And of course, the lines she had that we are better because we're female doctors.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem.
Hey, Joe, what's up? Hello to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys watching us this afternoon and evening, depending on where you are. Shout out to Joe. He's on assignment, and he's being smuggled from Mexico back into the United States, and he's getting a story from that. You know, he's probably in the back of some truck right now speaking
Can
Spanish.
I just say as well, thank you to everyone watching on X.
Oh, yes, right. I forgot. I always forget we're on there. Thanks to everybody watching us on X. Anybody who's watching us on, I think Rachel's doing a simulcast. So anybody watching us over there, you need to subscribe, you need to like, and you need to share. And I will accept nothing else. So yeah, we demand it. So let's we're getting close to late for English people. Let's look at the number one companion. And I had not looked at this list. This isn't like the greatest movies of all time thing where y'all accuse me of having cheated. Everybody knows Citizen Kane is considered like the greatest movie of all time, just like they know that Sarah Jane is on the top of most people's list. Sarah Jane, I dig her. Sarah Jane Smith is easily the most popular companion of the classic era of Doctor Who, and even returned for several of the modern episodes. She was first introduced as a traveling partner for the Third Doctor back in 1973, though before eventually going on to interact with 8 of the other 12 Doctors in some way, shape, or form. She was there when Davros created the Daleks on Skaro and came up against many of the series' most iconic villains at one point or another. Such was her popularity with series fans that Sarah Jane even got her own spin-off series called The Sarah Jane Adventures, which ran for 5 full seasons before Sladen's untimely death in 2011. I think she had cancer or something. Very sad, man, because she had just hit it. I mean, like, everything was firing on all cylinders. Who was back? She was back. Had her own show. Easily one of the. She's definitely easily one of the favorite, but she might be my favorite. And before I go around to you guys, I'll say the first time I saw this, like I said, I'd not seen previous Who. I knew who Sarah Jane was basically just through osmosis, just like I knew Tom Baker was the Doctor. You know what I mean? Like I remembered that. But Joe says Sarah Jane. More like Sarah Lame. Yaz is the shiz. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, Yaz is the best companion of all time.
Man.
Yeah. I know. He actually has a painting of them sitting eating ice cream on top of the TARDIS. So, like when I saw that when they in reunion when her and the 10th Doctor see each other and they have kind of like that moment before it gets to be where her and Rose jealous and all that stuff. But like, I didn't appreciate that as much until I had gone back and watched her with the Doctor in Old Adventures and Classic Who. Then you really appreciate when they bump back into each other. But I mean, she's easily one of my favorites, top of all time. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I like her a lot. She's
I think it's like everything.
Go on. Hello?
I didn't say anything. Go ahead. You just paused there for a second. It just messed up. Go ahead.
Did I? Okay. What was I saying? Yeah. So she's my second favorite classic companion. My favorite actually being Tegan, surprisingly, which is not actually a popular choice. I know.
Actually, yeah. Oh no, I was just say somebody asked me who they were asking about different eras, and I picked Tegan, and it was not a popular choice, so I understand.
Oh, really? Okay. I think with Tegan, it's because it was sort of like the first majorly contrasting companion, which is what really drew me to her. But anyway, back to Sarah Jane. Yes, I do like her. I like her gentility, but like her ability to ask questions. She's extremely smart as well, and I just like Elizabeth Sladen, really.
Her profession on the show was a reporter or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
was she supposed to be a reporter?
Yeah. And she knew how to get stuff and things like that. I actually like her more with Tom Baker than I do John Pertwee as well.
I'll be able to comment on that here pretty soon. I'm
that's
still with Joe. I'm watching the Third Doctor for the first time, so I haven't got to where he's met her yet.
Okay. I won't say too much, but
Yeah, it was the only one I hadn't seen.
She excels in, is it Genesis of the Daleks? She's in that one, isn't she?
Yeah.
Genesis of the Daleks,
Do I have the right?
Really excels in that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories, period. But that was like the start for me on the classic was that and the Genesis of the Daleks. It was a good season, man. But I love all of the Tom Baker stuff that I watched. I enjoyed. It kind of wound down in the last year or two, but there were probably more reasons than just him. And but I just definitely I love classic, and I would recommend to anybody, man. If you haven't watched it, if you think it looks like cheap or old or whatnot, reject modernity, embrace tradition. But like I really enjoy it. I get a lot of joy out of the show, and it's probably what I'm going to be doing when we get done here is reading comic books and watching Doctor Who, which is kind of odd because it was the same shit I was doing when I was 12. Well, except minus the Doctor Who, but like sitting watching, playing video games. I do a lot of the same things. I'm just married and have children now. But it's I've had a lot of fun with you guys, man. We have to do it again. I am in a work training for the next 3 weeks from 9 to 5 my time. And so we're still going to do like Culture Council stuff, but it may end up having to be on a Saturday or something like that. Cause really my only free days are probably going to be Saturday and Sunday until my training's done. Then I go to a different schedule. But so we might be back around next Saturday, but we'll work it out somehow because we don't want to stop doing this. We're having too much fun. Make sure if you're out there that you like, subscribe, and share. And just one more time, we're going to go around and say goodbye to everybody, but I'll put everything up on the screen where you can see. Rachel, tell everybody what you got going on. You got something coming out next. Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me at Chat About It, Don't Shout About It on YouTube and at Chat Don't Shout on X. I also have all my episodes released. Nearly all my episodes released as podcasts. I am going to try and get back up to uploading on Rumble, so you can find me over there. I don't know what the next video will be, but I'm covering the stuff with J.K. Rowling that's going on at the moment, and India Willoughby. Okay, so expect something on that quite potentially, because J.K. actually tweeted something a little while ago that I missed in the video that I've just done, so I'm going to be looking at that. So
Cool. I'll be watching that because I find that whole thing fascinating that they're still messing with her. But she's still coming out and saying what she wants to say. So, and thank you to everybody in the chat, man. Woody, everybody that came by. Hey, Joe, all of you guys. We really appreciate y'all watching. And let's see. Let's go to Brendan next. Sir, you need to tell everybody what you got going on, where they can find you, and when you'll be live again.
Yeah, we're live on Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 4. And so the Sunday show has a mixture of news, merchandise reviews and everything. Because it's Mothering Sunday in Britain, we'll have an element with Doctor Who and like who was the mum of Doctor Who, Claire Bloom appeared in End of Time. Lots of questions. Are you my mummy? The classic episode, that sort of thing. And then on Tuesday, we're looking at the Star Beast because we weren't around when Star Beast appeared. And actually, there's so much distance now. We'll talk about, was it a relaunch or a misfire? And we'll have a look at that.
That's my next solo video is on. I'm actually about halfway done with it. I'm going to do a solo video, like a read along kind of thing, discussion with the Star Beast comic, because I am a huge freak level fan of the Doctor Who comics. I've just stacks of where I've gone and bought all the I love old little stuff like this, man. Like that is such a cool little book. I'm sure you probably own it, but now there was a Time Lord thing. I just didn't have time to get to it today, but in the 100th issue, there's this really cool couple page short story that talks about the origin of the Time Lords. Oh, sweet. And I'm going to, that's actually one of the pictures that's in my slideshow for that. So I'm going to do a video on the Star Beast, and then I'm going to do one on the Legacy of Gallifrey. And I've already got all the pictures, and I think I've pretty much got it figured out how I'm going to do things. I was having a ton of trouble figuring out how to do slideshows the way I wanted to, and I finally cracked. And that sounds like a silly thing to not be able to do. Brendan is like 12, 13 years older than me, and Flex is, every time I'm on his channel, he's got all the cool bumpers, the cool intros, outros, and like I'm just sitting there with my head down going, man, man, I like Brendan a lot, but I'm hating him right now. Man, this shit is too cool. But like, he's got like all these cool bumpers and all that stuff. So it really made me want to step up my game. And one thing too, from being on Brendan's channel, was they could talk about things in a way. It seemed like they could talk about negative things with Doctor Who, but in a way that didn't leave you like feeling down and depressed. Actually made you feel good about being able to discuss things with people. So definitely you guys need to go check him and Rachel out. Now let's come to my good buddy Diabolical Tuna. What have you got going on, man? I know you've been dropping vids.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been very well the last couple of days, so I'm just going to try and catch up. There's a couple of ideas I want to put out video wise. But yeah, YouTube, Diabolical Tuna. Follow me on X, Diabolical_Tuna. Yeah, come say hi.
All right. So guys, you know where to find me. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And you can find me on X at CulturePopBhop. I'll probably have a video coming out here within the next few days. Yes. And then, like I said, we're going to be at least on Thursday hiatus for 3 weeks, and maybe have a new schedule after that. But I would imagine no Culture Council this weekend, but maybe the next weekend we'll probably have the next episode.
I'll do, Brandon. Is I'll lead like a new Avengers Culture Council. I'll round up Joe and some kind of younger blood.
Okay, ones with hair, right? Like, I found one with hair. Like my son stole all mine. It's like he looks like he's gonna be in an 80s hair band or something any day. But yeah, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out in the chat. Watching us just talk about goofy stuff. I lean more into Doctor Who and positivity this time than normal, so I hope y'all enjoyed that. And honestly, I didn't have as many of the good juicy news stories. Like it wasn't that, at least for the kind of things I would have fun showing or laughing at. It wasn't a good week for that, so that's why I didn't have a lot of that sort of stuff. Not much of it piqued my interest. And even though Brendan's already retired, I didn't want to get him any more canceled than necessary. That's what joke I said to Tuna. I said, man, I was we're going to talk about something. And I said, God, I said, I'm really glad Brendan's retired, man. And he'd be getting a call like, Mr. Noble, he's lost the job.
Part of when I was on this other channel, that every week they were doing LGBT, the agenda and stuff, and going on about it. Fair dues, we've all got an opinion on it, but I was still teaching and head of year dealing with that, and I thought, no, I don't want to speak.
We touch on it a lot sometimes, but and sometimes depending on the mood in my head, it's like, man, I don't want to talk about that stuff this week. Like we might talk about 5 or 6 things of that particular subject, and then avoid it the next week if possible. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys. I know it's late in England. The Redcoats have come and gone. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out, and just come find us next time. Check us out on X and on YouTube, and we'll see you guys later. Much love. Take care.
See you later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.